Hi everyone, welcome back to our Histo-PH family, where forgotten Filipino history finally comes alive. Today, we're diving deep into before Spain, the Kingdom of Butuan, a forgotten Philippine empire, a story that rewrites everything we thought we knew about our beginnings. Before Spain colonized the Philippines, there was a kingdom so powerful that Chinese emperors sent gifts, Arab traders documented its wealth, and its golden seals bore inscriptions that would remain unbroken for nearly 1,000 years. This is the story of Butuan, the empire history almost erased. In 1917, a farmer digging in the muddy banks of the Agusan River in Mindanao made a discovery that would rewrite Philippine history. His shovel struck something hard, a golden seal, intricately carved with ancient script. But this wasn't just any artifact. When scholars finally deciphered it decades later, they realized it was a state seal from one of the most sophisticated pre-colonial kingdoms in Southeast Asia, the Kingdom of Butuan. For centuries, colonial narratives taught Filipinos that their ancestors were primitive tribes living in scattered villages before the Spanish arrived in 1521. But the Kingdom of Butuan tells a radically different story, one of diplomatic sophistication, maritime mastery, and cultural brilliance that rivaled the greatest civilizations of its time. The rise of a maritime superpower. The Kingdom of Butuan flourished from the 10th to the 13th centuries in what is now northeastern Mindanao. Unlike landlocked kingdoms that built their power on fertile soil, Butuan's strength came from the sea. The kingdom sat at the crossroads of the ancient maritime trade routes connecting China, India, Arabia, and the Indonesian archipelago. This wasn't coincidental. It was strategic genius. Butuan's rulers understood something fundamental. Whoever controlled the seas controlled the wealth. Their shipbuilders crafted vessels called balangay, massive wooden boats that could traverse thousands of miles of open ocean. These weren't primitive canoes. They were sophisticated sailing vessels with planked hulls sewn together with plant fibers, waterproofed with tree resin, and capable of carrying tons of cargo. Archaeological excavations have uncovered multiple balangay boats preserved in the Agusan wetlands, some measuring over 15 meters long. Radiocarbon dating places them between 320 and 1,250 CE, proving that Butuan's maritime technology predated European exploration of Asia by centuries. Diplomatic recognition from the Dragon Throne. But here's where the story becomes extraordinary. In the Chinese imperial records known as the Song Shi, or History of the Song Dynasty, there are detailed accounts of a kingdom called Butuan that sent tribute missions to the Chinese court. These weren't isolated incidents. The records document at least 7 official missions between 1001 and 1011 CE. Think about what this means. 1,000 years ago, while Europe was still in the Dark Ages, the Kingdom of Butuan had established formal diplomatic relations with one of the world's most powerful empires. The Chinese emperor didn't just acknowledge Butuan, he granted its rulers official recognition, bestowing titles and gifts that affirmed their sovereignty. The tribute missions brought exotic goods, tortoise shells, beeswax, coconut heart timber, and the prized Philippine pearls that were considered among the finest in Asia. In return, Chinese emperors sent silk, porcelain, and most significantly, bronze and copper coins that have been found in massive quantities at Butuan archaeological sites. One excavation alone yielded over 1,000 Chinese coins dating from various dynasties, physical proof of sustained trade relationships. If you're amazed by our ancestor story, before Spain, the Kingdom of Butuan, a forgotten Philippine empire, help us hit our 500-like goal. Drop a comment about your favorite fact and subscribe to join the HistoPH family. And don't forget to hype this video. The golden seals, symbols of sovereignty now. Back to those golden seals. The first seal, discovered in 1917, remained largely forgotten until the 1960s, when another seal surfaced. But it wasn't until 2013 that scholars fully deciphered the inscriptions. They were written in ancient Javanese script and Sanskrit, revealing the title Bhuan, likely a phonetic rendering of Butuan, followed by complex ceremonial language used only by legitimate rulers. Gold seals in ancient Southeast Asia were the equivalent of a government's official stamp, used to authenticate documents, treaties, and royal decrees. The fact that Butuan possessed multiple gold seals indicates it wasn't just a chiefdom or tribal confederation, but a fully developed state with bureaucratic institutions. These seals were Butuan's sovereignty made tangible, recognized by neighboring kingdoms and distant empires alike. A diverse, cosmopolitan society. What made Butuan truly remarkable was its cosmopolitan character. Archaeological evidence reveals a society that was incredibly diverse and culturally sophisticated. Excavations have uncovered artifacts from across the known world: Chinese ceramics, Vietnamese pottery, Thai bronze wares, Indian beads, and even Persian glass. This wasn't the result of occasional contact. It was evidence of regular, sustained international trade. Arab traders and travelers mentioned a prosperous kingdom in the Philippine archipelago in their writings, likely referring to Butuan. The kingdom attracted merchants, monks, and craftsmen from across Asia. Buddhism and Hinduism coexisted with indigenous animist beliefs, creating a syncretic spiritual landscape. Gold artifacts found at Butuan sites include Hindu-Buddhist religious images, suggesting the kingdom's elite participated in the broader Indianized culture of maritime Southeast Asia. The Butuan boat burials. Perhaps nothing reveals more about Butuan society than its unique burial practices. In the wetlands surrounding the ancient capital, archaeologists have discovered boat burials, balangays that were deliberately sunk with the deceased and their grave goods. This wasn't simple disposal. It was a profound spiritual practice reflecting beliefs about the journey to the afterlife. These burials contained jewelry, weapons, pottery, and Chinese porcelain, indicators of social status and wealth. But more importantly, they demonstrate that Butuan had developed complex mortuary rituals that combined indigenous beliefs with influences from Hindu-Buddhist concepts of the soul's journey. The boats themselves were the vehicles for this final voyage. The economy of abundance. Butuan's economy was sophisticated and diverse. Beyond maritime trade, the kingdom exploited the rich natural resources of Mindanao's rainforests and rivers. They produced iron tools and weapons, indicating advanced metallurgical knowledge. Gold mining and goldsmithing reached extraordinary levels of skill. The kingdom produced intricate jewelry, ceremonial objects, and those famous seals using techniques that modern jewelers still admire. Agricultural surplus from the fertile Agusan Valley supported urban populations and specialist craftsmen. Unlike subsistence societies, Butuan had developed an economy complex enough to support non-food producing classes, priests, scribes, artists, merchants, and administrators. This economic foundation enabled the cultural and diplomatic achievements that distinguished the kingdom. The mysterious decline. So what happened to this magnificent kingdom? Why did it disappear from history? The truth is, we don't know for certain, and that mystery haunts historians. By the 14th century, Chinese records stopped mentioning Butuan. Archaeological evidence suggests the major settlements were abandoned or dramatically reduced in size. Several theories exist. Climate change may have altered monsoon patterns, disrupting trade routes. The rise of the Majapahit Empire in Java and the spread of Islam through the archipelago shifted political and economic power elsewhere. Internal conflicts or succession crises could have weakened the state, or perhaps Butuan simply transformed, its people dispersing to other settlements while maintaining cultural continuity. When Spanish colonizers arrived in the 16th century, they found communities in the Butuan area, but not the centralized kingdom that had impressed Chinese emperors centuries earlier. The collective memory of Butuan's golden age survived in oral traditions, but the physical evidence lay buried beneath centuries of sediment. Rediscovery and recognition. It took modern archaeology to resurrect Butuan from historical obscurity. Since the mid-20th century, systematic excavations have revealed the kingdom's true significance. In 2009, the Philippine government established the Butuan National Museum to house and display these treasures. The barangay boats have been carefully preserved and reconstructed, demonstrating ancient Filipino maritime capabilities. In 1987, the barangay was declared the national boat of the Philippines, a symbolic recognition of the country's pre-colonial maritime heritage. Replicas have been built and sailed using traditional methods, proving that ancient Filipinos possessed blue water sailing technology centuries before European contact. If you're still here, you're one of the rare few who truly care about the real origins of before Spain, the Kingdom of Butuan, a forgotten Philippine empire. Not just the visuals, but the truth behind them. Why Butuan matters today. The Kingdom of Butuan fundamentally challenges colonial narratives about Philippine history. For too long, Filipino history was taught as beginning with Magellan's arrival, as if centuries of civilization simply didn't exist. Butuan proves that narrative is false. Pre-colonial Filipinos weren't waiting to be discovered or civilized. They had already built kingdoms, established international relations, developed sophisticated technologies, and created vibrant cultures. They were active participants in the medieval global economy, not isolated primitives. The legacy continues. Understanding. Butuan restores Filipino agency in their own history. It provides a foundation for national identity rooted not in colonial experience, but in indigenous achievement. The kingdom demonstrates that Filipinos have always been innovators, diplomats, and masters of their environment. Today, descendants of Butuan's people still live in Agusan del Norte and throughout Mindanao. While the kingdom itself vanished, cultural practices, beliefs, and social structures evolved and adapted. The maritime traditions, metalworking skills, and artistic sensibilities that characterized Butuan didn't disappear. They transformed and persisted through centuries of change. The story of Butuan also reminds us how easily history can be erased. Without archaeological evidence and careful scholarship, this entire civilization might have remained forgotten. Known only through fragmentary Chinese records, how many other Southeast Asian kingdoms have vanished completely, leaving no trace for us to discover? The Kingdom of Butuan stands as testament to a simple truth. History is far more complex, diverse, and remarkable than simplified narratives suggest. Before the colonial period, before the modern nation-state, there were sophisticated societies, building, trading, creating, and thriving across the Philippine archipelago. The golden seals of Butuan weren't just royal symbols, they were declarations of sovereignty from a people who commanded respect across Asia. They remind us that Filipino civilization didn't begin with colonization. It was already ancient, already accomplished, already magnificent. The Kingdom of Butuan may be forgotten by many, but its legacy endures in every Filipino who reclaims this history and says, "We were already great. Our ancestors' stories don't end here. They're just waiting to be rediscovered." Smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to join the HistoPH family for the next epic chapter of our forgotten history.